Miss Copera here, in for another art criticism video. Our first step when looking at a work of art is to go ahead and see it. So I invite you to look at Van Gogh's The Irises. Why are we looking at Van Gogh's The Irises, everyone? Well, let me tell you, it is at the Getty in Los Angeles, and normally we see it. So at the beginning of any sort of art criticism exercise, I tell students, take a moment, do a quick sketch of it, and look, oh my gosh, don't judge me. You're kind of like, what is she doing? All these scribblings. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is just an exercise in seeing. So I'm seeing obviously a bunch of irises. They are a flower. I haven't looked up anything, though I know some things about the painting because I've heard my students present on this painting. And obviously the first thing that I see when I'm looking at this painting, and I'm assuming you saw too, is there is just one white flower. And yes, that is very central to understanding this painting, right? And because there's just one white flower, I'm probably going to say that that is the focal point, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to keep going ahead, and if you're sketching in your sketchbook, you're sketching with an H pencil. And, know where your eye is going. I'm going up here. Right, so I'm making little lines. I'm like, okay, the flowers are moving to the left and the right. And I'm just sketching. And it's like a whole crowd. And already, as I'm drawing, I'm asking myself, okay, bro, there are a lot of flowers. There are a lot of blue flowers. And there's one white flower. What is this one flower symbolize? So I am just not taking forever to draw all these. Okay, but I'm starting to notice the color patterns. We got a lot of green leaves happening. They're all waving. It's like everyone's waving. Everyone's unsure of themselves. But this flower, he is standing up straight. So maybe I will heavy that line weight. And he seems a little more certain about himself. Stipple. Hey! Have you guys stopped and have you written that this is called The Irises by Van Gogh? Again, we're only spending like 5 minutes to do a quick sketch. If you want to spend more, that's up to you. But it doesn't need to look neat. Don't worry about people judging you. Do I have this color and this highlighter thing? Guys, by the way, I'm using Evernote. No, am I using Evernote? Don't hate me. I'm using a program called Notability on an iPad, and it's just great. And it's less clunky. Okay, but my students, you're drawing in your sketchbook. And we are going. We're just rock and rolling. And I'm doing stipple. So all the blue flowers are kind of going down in the frame. It's like, are they wilting? Are they falling? Are they sinking because they're all conformist? Again, I've only heard student presentations about this. Never looked anything up because I'm a mother. Okay, over here, ... not a lot. Okay, so yeah, obviously, why do we go through this process? Because we're realizing, damn, there's a lot of flowers that look the same, but this flower is different. He is surrounded by this, I don't know, can I add yellow and then overlay on this Notability app? He's surrounded by so much yellow. It's like a dry, kind of stressful world. So much green, right? He's in this world with all of these flowers who are wilting, but he is standing up on his own, this flower on his own. So again, I'm seeing and I'm thinking about what it might mean. Yes? Maybe you want to use a pen to darken some values. That's up to you. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and darken my focal point just because I'm making that note to myself for the presentation. And these ones in the front seem to have more value because they're closer with spatial depth. Okay, again, use your markers, use your color pencils to color that. Don't stress. And then, we're thinking about color too. We got all these warm colors down at the bottom. So much warmth is a beautiful. Bum, 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 bum. And this is the part of the video where I can't stop drawing because I'm like, oh, this is so great. Again, I got to work on writing neater for my students. God, that's ugly. Oh, God. Again, this is Irises by Van Gogh. And the first step of our art criticism process, everyone, is to just go ahead and take the time to draw it, right? Not too much time, though, because we want to move on. And I know you got other classes. But take the time to draw it, see it. Maybe you want to think about other values. And this is basically a sample. We're going to move on. And I tell my students, look, if you can draw, like start sketching some fine, famous artwork, maybe one day you'll be famous on YouTube. No, just playing. Did I write this neater? I mean, as an artist or as whatever, a businessman. So here we go. Irises by Van Gogh. Put it in your journal, and then we're going to go through the DAIJ process. Hey everyone, welcome back. Just making sure that my mic is on and we're ready to go. It looks like we are recording, people. We are on. Hopefully you paused your video. The first step with art criticism, and where did my painting go? Lordy Lou. Irises by Van Gogh. The first step with art criticism, I tell my students, okay, divide your journal into 4. The first step is to describe. So go ahead and describe, everyone, with the elements of art. So you can do this in list form. The first thing I'm seeing is bright, blue, purple, gorgeous colors that attract the eye, and these are the flowers, right? So I'm trying to model that you can do a list, but look, I'm writing in paragraph form. Again, my students, you will add on. Obviously, the first thing we saw was, well, I don't know, did you see it? The white flower is different from orange flowers in background and blue, purple in foreground. Look, I'm making little like cool keys. Background and foreground. I see a lot of wavy lines. And again, I'm checking myself. Am I talking about at least 3 elements of art? So I talked about color, intense and beautiful lines, wavy lines, expressive, showing emotion. And what's something else that I can talk about? Let's see, color, line. I don't know if I want to talk about value. Space, texture. Maybe I want to talk about texture in this. Texture of paint is very rough. A lot of paint was applied by Van Gogh. If you go to the Getty to see it, I mean, he just used so much. You could actually get close to it, but don't get too close. Otherwise, the security guards will freak out. But he uses so much paint to almost show, I don't know, pain, conflict. You guys decide. So go ahead, pause your video. Keep listing off things. Stop, talk to your partner. What else do you see? Okay, like talk to your partner for at least 2 minutes. Talk, write in the chat, whatever. What do you see? Add on to your list. I want to see different sorts of things. Again, describe everything that you see. Okay, everyone. Hey, it looks like the microphone's back on. Hopefully you paused your video. Did you pause your video? Our next step is to analyze. I cannot write and talk. Analyze. That is something I learned. Is writing and talking is too hard for me. Our next step is to analyze, and that's where we talk about the principles of design. Don't judge me if I spelled analyze wrong. I am second guessing myself. So, with my students, and thanks to the help of Rosa Jew and, everyone who invented this process. I would say you should always focus on emphasis. Not always, but these are good principles to focus on. So where's the focal point? How do you know? Unity, how is it tied together? And balance. We could also talk about, let's talk about a different one this time. Let's talk about movement, because I feel like that is a principle that I don't talk about enough. So I'm going to, and this is good. This is good, actually, guys. We like to stop and ask yourself, okay, well, what principles am I teaching? Or am I going to focus on when I talk about this painting? So I made that choice first. I love it. So obviously emphasis is huge. Emphasis is when we deal with the focal point. Hello. Okay, the focal point is the white flower. Now, again, you guys add on, you could disagree. I say that a lot because it is isolated. It's isolated. It's kind of like all by itself. It's isolated and on its own. A lot of visual contrast. I mean, it is isolated. It is on its own. There's just so much visual contrast. Look. I mean, and I can draw. This is why it's so good to draw. You could draw right in on your drawing. Look. I'm going to make this thicker so you guys can see. Maybe I'll use bright green. No, I'm going to stick with dark green. Look at this. Yeah. I mean, we have basically, there are all of these secret converging lines. If you follow the path of the dark value, it's all pointing right there at the flower. So you could also talk about, you could point out the converging lines. You really could. Whoa. Oh my goodness. I can't even. Converging lines. So go ahead, write about that, and then come up with your own thing. And maybe you disagree. Maybe you think that this flower is the focal point. So go ahead, pause your video, right? Like, why is that the focal point and why? And then welcome back. Okay, so unity, obviously there is repetition. And I am drawing a line there of flowers. Stop saying so much. The color palette is limited. Yes, it is. It is so limited to like blues, and you would go on and write to blues, to yellows, to greens. I mean, we have like a clear color palette of green, right? There's so much green with a complement of red, right? You could talk about colors so much. Oh, the warm yellows slowly blends into the cool greens, the yellow greens, the purple, and then it's complemented by the red marks. You can also talk about repetition of brushstrokes. Similar brushstrokes helps to create unity. Brushstrokes. And then, I mean, I ran out of space on my little note thing, but look at all this clustering. We haven't talked about grouping in a while. Look, so here's a group. We got the red fam, we got the blue fam, and we got the yellow fam. We got blue too right there, and then we got the flower that's all by itself. You can even talk about visual balance, how there's a white flower here. It's almost like he wants to be like this flower. But yeah, there's a white flower right here. And then there is this, I can't talk, but you got a white flower here. So it's visually balanced too. So as far as unity, yeah, it is grouped. So yeah, it is totally unified. And then, yeah, I wanted to focus on movement because there's back and forth movement with these lines. So if I were to pick another color and draw on top, right? All these lines, I mean, we're going back and forth. And it's kind of like he's taking us on a wave of this world, right? So movement, back to the green pen, back and forth, movement, da, 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 da. Back and forth movement. And yeah, so just go ahead, check it out. I don't know, like, why is the back and forth movement important? You know, why going left to right? You would say draws the viewer's eye to the lonely iris. And I would say this iris is kind of like our central character. Okay, guys, so make sure you pause your video and you write on your own. Again, don't judge me if I misspelled analyze. I think I did. Yep, it has one N. Awesome. I've been misspelling stuff since I was a kid because I lived in Germany. Side note, analyze has one N. I'm so sorry. Okay, everyone, forgive your teachers, pause your video, and then keep writing. And we're back. Hopefully you paused your video. I hope you did. And you can go ahead and write the third step. Again, 1, describe. 2, analyze. 3, interpret. And again, my students, it is fine if your fire right is in these different quadrants. Interpret. Okay, and that is when we figure out the theme. I really want everyone to have their own theme. And I would say, like, a good way to figure out the theme, which should be one sentence, is go ahead and brainstorm topics, big ideas when you look at this piece. And you got to think about the symbols. Like, okay, so what are the symbols that I see? So I would say isolation because of this flower that's all by himself. Sadness, because I am sad for this flower that's all by itself anymore. I would also say conformity. Whoa, big word. Because the reason, look, got all the yellows doing the same thing. We got all the purple blues doing the same thing. But this person is being unique versus being yourself. Like, are you going to be a conformist? So the word conformity, can't spell. Guys, if I'm ever talking too much, this is great. You can just pause me. Conformity, the word conformity, just so you know, means, basically means doing what everyone else is doing. That's what it means, conformity. And so that's, I feel like, but this person is like on their own. They're being an individualist. So being yourself, being an individual, right? And then kind of like almost the pain that comes from that. Again, hopefully, you know, you talked with your partner about, you know, what you think it means on your own. Right? Like, you don't want me to do all of the thinking. And then being an individual also makes me think of strength. Because like I was saying when I was drawing earlier, like, look at how straight up he's standing, whereas everyone else is just kind of waving all over the place. Swaying back and forth. So a theme could be, now I would use my word bank. Right, so I'm looking at my word bank. I'm like, what is Van Gogh saying about sadness and isolation, conformity, being yourself, being an individual, strength? What is he saying? So even though being an individual, again, there's no right answer for this, creates a lot of pain. So even though being an individual creates a lot of pain and sadness, it's worth it because it leads to strength. Full sentence. Bam. I use my different topics. Being an individual creates a lot of pain. It's worth it because it leads to strength. I use some of my topics. Look, I don't know. I've never read an article about this, but I have heard students present on this. I love this painting. That is a guess. I want you guys to either build on my theme or make your own, disagree, have a debate. Let's talk about art, people. Pause your video. Make sure you have a one-sentence theme in your journal. Okay, guys, and our last step is judgment. Okay, sorry. Do you like this work of art, right? This is when it's all you. I think this is, and you can write it's a bad work of art, right? But I love art, so I don't know if I could ever say art was bad, but I think this is a fabulous work of art because the color palette, I'm all about color, guys. That's like my favorite thing. How's my handwriting doing? The color palette, using my art vocabulary words in my fire rights, is bright and inviting. Also, there is a strong and moving message. I know I'm not using it as an art vocab word, but I could argue moving, because I'm going back and forth. Moving message about, what am I saying? About the importance of standing on your own. And then you would go on and you would say other things that are strong about the piece, right? So again, you should write more. Obviously, I don't want you to write so much that you're kind of like, I'm never going to do this again. But I do want you to explain, always explain with evidence, can't write. Guys, always back up your thoughts with evidence. This helps you in your English, art. This is art. And history classes, because you need to always back up your writing with facts, which in art is what you see. No, you don't have to write this, right? You don't want to write exactly what I'm writing because this is yours. This is like what you're thinking about this art piece. So yeah, welcome to the Art Criticism Unit. All students are doing this, but the blue group is teaching us about these works of art. But all students should be writing about different works of art and exploring, thinking, drawing. Your drawings don't need to be messy. I'm your art teacher, guys. Hopefully you watch this video, post that fire right, do that fire right, work and think about art on home. The internet is a beautiful place where you can research, you can describe, analyze, interpret, and judge different works of art and get ideas for your own art, because ultimately we want to get ideas and we want to develop our voices, spread your voice with the world. Check out the next video, write about as many paintings as possible. Thanks, guys. Bye.